So, let's talk about one of the biggest challenges in business, growth. Specifically, how to build your company so it can get bigger without everything falling apart. We're diving into the power of scalable workflows.
Okay, let's just start with the single most important question you can ask yourself. Think about it for a second. If your business literally doubled overnight, double the customers, double the orders, would your systems actually support that, or would they just completely implode? Your answer to that question pretty much decides your company's future.
And this slide lays out the two paths so clearly, doesn't it? On one side, you've got growth with chaos. That means founder burnout, things getting less efficient as you grow, unhappy clients, and believe it or not, profits actually going down. But on the other side, there's growth with control, which leads to strategic focus, better profits, and happy, loyal clients. The bridge between those two worlds, it's all about your systems.
So let's dig into that path of chaos for a minute. We need to really understand the problem first. Let's talk about those classic growing pains.
And this right here, this is the classic symptom. It feels good, right? The revenue number's going up, but when you look at the bank account, the actual profit is shrinking. You add a founder pulling 16-hour days just to keep things from breaking, and yep, that's the telltale sign your processes just aren't built to scale. The whole model is cracking under the pressure.
Now, the knee-jerk reaction is always, we need more people. But this quote is such a powerful warning. Hiring more people without defined processes is not scaling, it is simply expanding inefficiency. You're basically just paying more people to run a broken system, maybe just a little bit faster.
So if throwing more people at the problem isn't the solution, then what is? Well, that brings us to the whole point of this explainer. The real solution is building scalable workflows.
So what exactly is a scalable workflow? This definition really gets to the heart of it. It's a process that's built to handle more work without needing a proportional jump in resources. In plain English, it means if you double your customers, you don't double your costs or your stress levels.
Okay, that sounds amazing in theory, but how do you actually build something like that? Let's get practical and look at the blueprint. We're going to walk through a 5-step plan from consultant Aadesh Navade. And here it is, the high-level roadmap. It's just 5 really logical steps. First, you map out how things are right now. Then you standardize your key processes. Third, you automate all the repetitive stuff. Fourth, you delegate with real clarity. And finally, you keep iterating to get better and stay flexible.
Step 1 is all about honesty. You have to map out your as-is processes. What's actually happening day to day, not what you think is happening. This is how you find the real logjams and get the hard data you'll need to prove things are getting better later on. Next up, you standardize. But the trick here is to be smart about it. Don't try to document everything. Use that good old 80-20 rule. Focus on creating simple, clear, standard operating procedures, or SOPs, for that critical 20% of your work that creates 80% of the value. That's how you get consistency where it counts the most. Now, once a process is standardized, it becomes the perfect candidate for automation. This is where you get to free up your team's brain power. Think about these classic time sucks. Invoice approvals, data entry, pulling reports. This stuff is important, but it's mind-numbing. Automating it isn't about replacing your team, it's about unleashing them to do more creative, high-value work. And these last 2 steps make sure the whole system actually works in the real world. You delegate tasks with crystal clear ownership so your team feels empowered to make decisions. But, and this is key, it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. You have to keep iterating, reviewing things every quarter to cut out what's not working and adapt to change. It's a cycle of constant improvement. So that's the blueprint. But for that plan to actually work under pressure, it needs to be built on a really solid foundation. Let's talk about the pillars of strength that make these workflows truly powerful. The first pillar is the SOP. And I know a lot of people hear SOP and think of soul-crushing bureaucracy. But I love this reframing. An SOP is your business's memory. It's an asset that makes sure critical knowledge doesn't just walk out the door when a key person leaves. And this is exactly why that business memory is so important. This quote just says it all. You cannot automate chaos, and you certainly cannot scale it. You have to create order in a process before you start throwing money at technology to try and speed it up.
Another pillar is just absolute clarity. So many projects fail because nobody's quite sure who's in charge of what. A simple tool like the Rossi matrix you see here solves that completely. For every single task, you define who is responsible for doing it, who is accountable for its success, who needs to be consulted, and who just needs to be kept informed. No more confusion.
And the final pillar is data.
You have to measure what actually matters. Using key performance indicators, KPIs, like how fast you respond to a lead or how long an approval takes, makes your entire operation visible. It lets you manage with cold, hard data, not just gut feelings and expensive assumptions.
Okay, so we've got the blueprint and we've got the pillars. Now let's get to the best part. What's the actual payoff? What are the real, tangible results you get when you achieve growth with control?
Well, this chart says it all, doesn't it? Let's start with the bottom line. The data shows that companies with optimized workflows have profit margins that are 20% to 30% higher than their disorganized competitors. So this isn't just about feeling better organized, it's about being way more profitable.
The benefits also flow directly to your team. I mean, think about this. With clear SOPs to guide them, you can cut the time it takes to train a new employee by half. They start adding value so much faster because you've literally given them the playbook for success.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the cost of doing nothing. A bad manual process isn't just a little inefficient, it's incredibly expensive. When you add up the time spent fixing mistakes and all the opportunities you lose while you're putting out fires, the true cost is estimated to be 10 times higher than a well-designed process.
So what this all comes down to is something bigger than just an operational tweak. The real goal here is a fundamental shift in culture. It's about moving away from a hustle-based culture that runs on adrenaline and burnout and toward a process-based culture that thrives on smart, repeatable systems.
And that leaves us with one last, really powerful question to think about. When you look at your own role and your team's, what are you spending your time on? Are you just doing the work, caught up in the frantic day-to-day? Or are you stepping back to actively design the work for a better future? Because your answer really determines whether you're built to stagnate or built to scale.